Everyone. Hello everyone and welcome back to Southern Wealth. I hope you guys are doing very well. If you do enjoy the content, please consider dropping that like and subscribe. As you guys know, it greatly helps the channel. So I was out a little bit in the past couple of days, so let's go straight to it. Bitcoin crossed $80,000. So as you guys know, there has been a prediction for a long time here in the channel. First prediction was back in March 2024 when Bitcoin was at all-time highs at the time, and I said that Bitcoin was going to get somewhere between $47,000 and $52,000. I thought that was going to happen in July. It happened in August, so I was off by 2 weeks and a half, let's say, in which Bitcoin hit 48,000 during the Japanese sell-off. At the time, everyone was predicting Bitcoin 30K because only half of the carry trade was done, and now you're going to see the other half being carried out and Bitcoin's going to go to 30. I came here in the channel and I said, not only this is the last time you're going to see Bitcoin with the 40,000 mark before the end of November, you're going to have Bitcoin above 80,000. And that's exactly what happened today. So for those of you who've been following the channel, this is nothing new. For those of you who may be joining the channel, you may be a bit reluctant, but you can always ask everyone here in the audience to see if I'm lying or not. I've been repeating this ad nauseum, so you guys know that my followers don't let me lie, so this is not going to be one of those times. I've also said that as everybody was talking about Solana, all the influencers talking about Solana, all about Solana, basically Ethereum was dead. I said, one of these days, Ethereum is going to start pumping. And I've mentioned as well that above 2,950, there's pretty much no resistance for the Ethereum price. My prediction was that Ethereum was going to, for the remainder of this cycle, so October onwards, Ethereum was going to outperform Solana, and it's going to be funny to see everybody jumping in back to Ethereum after basically proclaiming that it was completely finished for months and months on end. As you guys know here in the channel, I always thought that that was pure BS. I didn't see how Ethereum could go away, and actually the fact that all the influencers were against Ethereum gave me the hope that Ethereum is gonna play catch up within 20 to 25 days, and all of a sudden Ethereum is gonna be above 4,000 and 4,200, and everybody's gonna be super bullish on Ethereum once again. And a lot of people will be left behind, as it's usually the case. You see, if all the influencers are big in Solana, that means their bags are filled with it, which means they're not buying, and they need someone to come and buy it so they can sell it on you. That's it. It's very simple. And since everybody's trashing Ethereum, that means that none of them own it. Also, good sign. Ethereum has played these catch-up trades before. It's not anything new. However, people tend to forget because it's been 4 years since the last one. Pulse Chain is also doing quite well, as well as the PulseX ecosystem. I think that ecosystem will also play catch-up quite soon. It's going to catch a lot of people off guard, which is great. That means opportunity for me. In terms of my investments, I'm thinking about either tomorrow or Tuesday. I'm thinking about making a live stream, potentially Tuesday evening, and I'll drop a list of all the coins that I have, which market caps or average prices I got in, and basically going into the real bull market, which is very close to start. If you guys recall my previous videos, I've mentioned this, as all the other channels been talking about banana zones or altcoin seasons coming imminently since like January. I've always refrained from talking about altcoin seasons, and the reason is quite simple. I thought altcoin season was going to come later in the year. It's usually 235 days on average after the halving, which would put us around mid-December 2024. Since this cycle has been front-running quite a bit, I think the altcoin season will start somewhere very late November, early December. What I mean by altcoin season is not a few altcoins doing very well. It's pretty much everything doing quite well. Now, will we have one altcoin season followed by a correction, followed by another altcoin season? Or are we going to have a super huge altcoin season that's going to pop off sometime in the next 7 months? I don't know. Both scenarios can play out. I think it's quite obvious that the mood has substantially changed. Even coins like Cardano are pumping. So, and as I've said, not all things, at least in this stage, will pump at the same time. So if you guys recall, Hoppy, for example, made a new all-time high very recently, and it was performing very, very well. However, Andy was kind of underperforming. But then, all of a sudden, Andy is performing very, very well, and Hoppy is not performing that well in the past couple of weeks. My point being, these things will take their turns. Obviously, there's going to be a time where everything goes up, but we are still far away from it. There's still no euphoria here. Now, we are pricing in better conditions, that's for sure. One of them is peace. So if you look at, mainstream media will not tell you this, but if you do a little bit of Googling, both sides in the Middle Eastern conflict are talking about peace. Iran is talking about peace. China is talking about partnership and peace with the US. Russia and Ukraine are talking about peace. Everybody's talking about peace. So the market is starting to price in that said peace. And because there's a bit of, I would say, relief that Trump was elected, I get the feeling that the market is overpricing a little bit certain things. Stock market's at new all-time highs. The Russell 2000 is very close to a new all-time high. S&P is above 6,000. This has been the biggest rally post an election that we've ever seen. I think the world has noticed that it was not just him that dodged the bullet in Pennsylvania. Maybe it was the world that dodged the bullet. I don't know. We'll see. Too early to tell. I'm looking at it more from a probabilistic point of view, in which with him, I think it's more likely we have peace. It's more likely that crypto does better. This has been my analysis for months now. And I've said as well many times over, if he would get elected, I think we're going to have a 2016, 2017 type of cycle. If she would get elected, we would have a 2020, 2021 type of cycle. I've said this very clearly throughout all this time. Nothing has changed in that perspective. And I've always said 2025 is what matters. Then once we enter 2025, we will enter, particularly after Q1, we are starting to look for potential top signals. Things that are so bullish that they must be a top. Once again, it's unclear how the Bitcoin strategic reserve is going to look like. It depends on, is he going to buy new Bitcoin? Is he just not going to sell new Bitcoin that already is there? That is up for grabs. Nobody has a crystal ball at this moment. As he gives more details, we'll be here to witness. We are entering a more difficult stage of the market, in my opinion, which is the bull market and right before the euphoria phase. Why is it so dangerous? You see, a lot of people, when they saw Ethereum pump, they were saying, oh my God, I missed a bit of the pump. I'm going to wait for a sell-off until 2,500, then I'm going to buy it. Didn't come. A lot of people must be looking at Andy saying, oh my God, I should have bought Andy, but I will wait until it sells into 120 million market cap. It's currently at 185. Maybe you missed it. What I'm trying to say is we are entering the phase that if people hesitate, they run the risk of missing out. Now, does that mean that I'm advising people to go and buy crypto randomly? No. What I'm saying is this is a factual statement. We are in the stage of a bull market in which if you hesitate and you blink, you may miss it. That's all. It's purely factual. It's not my opinion. It's a matter of looking into the charts. TLT got a bit of a sell-off when he was elected, but has pretty much rebounded the whole thing, which, as you guys know, something that I like to see. And as I've said before, I do think we're going to see the Fed funds rate negative before the end of the decade. And maybe giving a little bit more thought here, I think a lot of people are starting to price in some ridiculous numbers at Bitcoin level. As I've said before, and I will repeat it, my targets for Bitcoin and Ethereum this cycle have been unchanged since 2023, which is Bitcoin somewhere between $242,000 to $276,000 and Ethereum somewhere between $25,000 and $29,000, which means Pulse Chain should do incredibly well. In my opinion, let's hope it does. It would be great, obviously, for my future. Now, we're going to have periods of sell-off still. So if you're thinking it's going to be only but green candles, I disagree. I think we're going to have periods of sell-off. The big difference is these will last less and less time in terms of duration of a sell-off, and they will be less and less deep. So it's going to be very difficult for people who want to short the market, I think, my God, but there's people for everything. And people who would be like waiting on the sidelines to buy the dip, it will become incredibly harder to do so. However, we're going to have time periods as well in which people overprice too much the future, meaning they let the market go too far ahead than it should be, which is normal. These things happen. But in any case, all the fundamentals for crypto are great, not just on the regulatory government support kind of way, but the Fed just cut rates, the Bank of England just cut rates, China just announced a 1.4 trillion stimulus package, because why? They're fighting deflation. Who said that? There was this channel with a guy with a mask predicting that China was going to have more troubles with deflation rather than inflation, even though they were cutting rates and printing money. Who was that person? I don't know. The funniest part is going to be, obviously, as the Fed keeps on cutting rates and inflation will keep on coming down, and people will start scratching their head, don't figuring out what has happened, and then they will come up with all sorts of excuses. You know the drill, same old story. So very curious to see what the future holds us. In my view, the liquidity cycle is still ramping up. I think we're still very far away from the top. There's no euphoria yet, but the Ethereum ETFs are gaining popularity. Bitcoin ETFs, are doing more than $1 billion nowadays. So I think we have a lot of things to look forward to. As I mentioned, the Germans are out. The Mt. Gox creditors are almost all paid out. The FTX creditors, who are going to get US dollar, are still waiting for their money. And only, I think, a few people have received it. So that's a lot of people getting dollars from the crypto space, a lot of dollars, about 16 billion, which is more than what Mt. Gox had for sale. So that part is good. And of course, you have a president who has just repeated his message that he wants to make the US the crypto capital of the world. I think that's smart of him. I think he understands that blockchain will be the next big thing, and he wants to make sure that the flows of investments keep on coming this way. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about election. Obviously 312. So Polymarket got it completely correct. As I've told you, I place much more confidence on the Polymarket than on the polls. Senate has been won by the Republicans, and it seems that the Republicans will also get the House at around 220. They also got the governors, about 8-2 or something like that, and the attorney generals as well. So it's been a very successful election, plus the popular vote, of course. So it's been a very interesting election. Looking a bit ahead, just for fun, okay? 2028, I think, is going to be a key election. And the reason is by 2030, we should be feeling really the strongest effects of AI, which means whoever is president will take the glory of massive developments and massive improvements due to AI. So it's obvious that whoever is elected in 2028 will be able to say, "Oh my God, look at such a brilliant presidency that I just had," and basically will probably work well for that person's re-election. There's another thing that I see very few people notice, which is, New Jersey, Virginia, New Hampshire. I mean, a lot of these places are becoming almost swing states to some degree. I mean, New Jersey was one below 6%, I think. So it's approaching that level of contest going forward, whilst, if you look at Florida and Texas, they became even redder than they were. Now, there's something very interesting for 2030. I've seen, I think no one talking about this, is that the census will be updated. And because a lot of people has left California, New York, Illinois, and Minnesota to go to Texas, Florida, etc., basically, almost all the states, they're going to get. So I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but basically the number of votes depends on the population of each state. So that's why California is 54, and Alaska is 3, right? But what's been happening is so these census, these population figures are only updated once a decade. And so many people has escaped California and New York to go into Texas and Florida, that those two states in 2030 will get, I think, about 4 electoral votes each extra, while New York and California will lose those same 4. I think Minnesota will lose 1. I think Illinois will lose 2. And basically states they're going to get those votes will be Idaho, I think Kansas as well. So what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of migration from these blue states into red states, to the point where the next census, these red states, particularly Texas and Florida, will get more college votes, while more votes than California and New York, who are going to lose votes. So that creates even a more interesting dynamic. Now, that's very far into the future. Many things can happen. What I'm trying to say here is that the GOP, the Republican Party, with such young people and such a strong team that they've assembled, if they have a very good presidency over the next 4 years, it can lead to 2028 winning the election. And then AI plus the change in the population can be incredibly strong for Republicans going forward, which basically really transformed their party. But, this is something just for fun, just for my American followers. Maybe they find this interesting, maybe they don't. But with that, guys, good times ahead. And let's hope that by 2025, I can retire at least. If I can get generational wealth, the best. And with that, thank you very much for your support, guys. Don't forget, let me know if you want the live stream on Tuesday. If you do, I will make a summary of all the coins that I have and the price that I got in. You guys know already, Hoppy and Andy are my best ones so far. Got at Hoppy at around $1 million market cap, and at Andy somewhere between 1.5 and 1.6 million market cap. And with that, guys, thank you very much for your support, and I'll catch you in the next one.